So check it out. Madcap is a hero that adds a little puff cloud, a little spore cloud to the targets when it hits, and that cloud will do affliction damage for 4 seconds in the lead and 2 seconds in support, and it's actually pretty strong. Now, I'm going to temper some expectations right now. I'm going to say that Madcap and Mayhem, the two new heroes that came out in the same update, in the same quest line, you can unlock them today and even yesterday as the video is going live. I'm going to temper expectations by saying these heroes are roughly C tier in the 160s. It's not going to be carrying you all the way to the end of Fortnite. However, honestly, I would say both of them are like A tier as far as like Ventures progression goes, and that clip you just saw in the 140 zones. Now, they are very different heroes. Mayhem gives you a nice shock tower bonus where it draws a line between you and the target, and that could be pretty good for higher level targets. And Madcap is, as I just explained. So because they're so different, and because I'm a YouTuber who likes to cover stuff, I'm going to make 2 videos. And there's also another reason. You might have noticed in that clip, Madcap has a custom teddy. Look at this dude. Look at him. I even recorded a clip from Archer earlier. Look at this teddy. Isn't that sweet? So I want to be looking at that. And he's actually pretty strong in the lead. And it seems as though the teddy scales with the mission you're in. So it doesn't give us a damage value for how much that affliction is, but it's around 50,000 damage for the end game. And that's pretty good. That's pretty good. If you're using this in Ventures, it should, I won't say carry you, but it will scale well all the way to the 140s. And I'm not going to be showing it in this Venture season for 3 reasons. 1, I believe this will be applicable to all Venture seasons, and I don't want to date this video by just recording it in the Rage modifier. And 2, the Rage modifier changes a lot. So reduce cooldown and increase damage is great. You should go and use this in Ventures now. There's still like a month left in the season, by the way. And the other reason is energy. You're going to need some kind of energy generation in this build, and it's going to change what I want to show you guys. So for the idea of, demonstration purposes, we're going to be recording in a Cat 4 144 player. This should be indicative of the end game Ventures of roughly any season, like I just mentioned with Rage, and the holiday season especially. Teddy can get buffed throughout different Venture seasons, but this is the build I'm going to be running with. Madcap in the lead for the reasons aforementioned. Happy Holidays, because of course we want to reduce that cooldown. You can get Happy Holidays from any of the toy heroes. I am scaling this video to all players, by the way. If you already know this, I'm sure you're rolling your eyes, but, Monks, Ted, I think Jilly Teacup gives you the Happy Holidays perk. You can always check down here before you go and flux or vouch or anything. I think Ted, actually, did they change Ted? I want to check this for my own personal interest, because I know that he used to be voucherable, now he's flexible, and he does give you Happy Holidays. Or is he? Yeah, he used to be flexible, now he's voucher only. Anyway, he's still pretty good though. And the rest of the build, let's go through it quick. Overbearing is the one perk that you might want to swap. I like the extended range, and the potential 40% damage is nice. If you are content with the range of your Teddy, you can get a flat 30% from Berserker. Turbo Zirkin, she's a pretty common hero. You can get her from regular missions all the time, but we are in a Cat 4 mission, and 30% on top of the 30% down here is diminishing returns. It only applies to the base damage of it, so you're not really going to get that much of a bonus. So personally speaking, considering the mission we're in, I do believe the extended range is going to be fitting for this recording, but you can do whatever you want. And another consideration is Impossibility Matrix. I don't think he's that useful. In fact, I just saw him, but I can show him in the event shop as I'm recording, because he's right here, Old Glory AC. So not a super useful thing. 10% is like 2 seconds or 4 seconds. It's not helping that much, but for cooldown reduction, we are using Fragment Flurry Jest. 39 eliminations, that counts traps and stuff. That'll give us charge fragments, and that'll make it cost no energy and have reduced cooldown. Bear with me, just get extra 4 seconds. There are a lot of heroes that do that, so Jingle Jess, or you could use this guy right here. What is his name? I always forget. Enforcer Grizzly. So he's base game if you guys want to use that. I use Metal Team Leader just because she does slightly more Teddy damage, and in support that's barely gonna matter, and she's a starter pack character, so I paid $15 for that character. I might have made my money back with the ad revenue on that video, but still, I paid $15 for that. I'm gonna use her. Jilly Teacup works fantastically for this build. I know this is a long intro, you guys, I'm sorry, but there's a lot to explain. Jilly Teacup has 100% crit chance on new targets, which is fine, but she has a 5% chance to malfunction, meaning that Teddy's gonna find a new target after every shot, spreading the spore cloud affliction as far as it can go. If you're not using Jilly alongside Madcap, I feel like you might be making a mistake. These two pair so well. It's a great combination. And then pressing charges, she does not need you to have a fragment. What she buffs is Teddy and the shock tower by 30%. whether or not you have a fragment. So if you're using her for either of the new heroes, you're doing it right. Gumshoe's great. You can get her from the Art Deco set. So if you get lucky with Art Deco llamas, you'll probably already have her, but you can flux her if you want her. Pretty good hero to have. So yeah, let's hop in game, check out the new hero. Now, before we start getting our murder on, I gotta say, I picked the Slurp Pickaxe to go along with the quest line. If you guys have been watching with dialogue on, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I figured I'd remove Lexa just for this game so we can see Madcap in his full glory. Pretty cool skin. Pretty cool skin. And you can see 140 basic targets going down really easy. I am going to be shooting some enemies. I figure the Huskbuster is a very strong, very common base game weapon that most people should have. So I feel like if I'm helping this build along a little bit with that weapon, it shouldn't be over-representing it too bad. And I am trying to find this spear. Oh my goodness. Because the Teddy, of course, will kill the random glowing animals around you, which is great for helping you loot. But sometimes you just can't find them. Look at this crowd of enemies. So here we go. Throw it down. And if we watch it malfunction, then we'll get to see it in all of its glory. But yeah, look at that. Just finding a new target after every single shot. Tons of extra damage. Pretty solid. For barely shooting any targets, this is just one basic Teddy, doing pretty well. And again, if you consider that could be a Venture's mission, this would be an excellent loadout that works regardless of what kind of weapon you have, and it can work in any Venture season, which is accessible to everybody. I like it. I like stuff like that a lot. And we don't really have our Teddy up, so I'm gonna go find some fragments and some more targets, and see you then. What a perfect scenario. We got a big group of enemies. We got a fragment. Let me just throw down the Teddy first and watch it get to work. So again, I'm always waiting for it to malfunction so that it can hit a bunch of new targets. All those yellow numbers are just the affliction going to work. Obviously struggles against the higher level targets, but basic enemies need not apply to the onslaught towards me. This is just easy. Easy cleanup. Of course, we're out of range at this point. Even Ventura couldn't make it reach that far. But with the reduced cooldown, we actually have our Teddy back already. So let's shoot you and shoot you. Just want to anger a couple of enemies from both sides. And maybe we can get rid of the cactus and have them meet in the middle. So let's enjoy this Teddy. Look at that. You know, and this is why I really like this build. Even if it can't hold up that well in the 160s, I still think it's an excellent choice for anybody who just needs an easy build that just works. You know, Madcap plus some basic supporting characters can just take out an entire crowd of enemies like that. There are a few stragglers with 1 HP remaining, but a couple of shots from the Huskbuster makes for easy cleanup, and then you just move along. It's easy. So yeah, I'm gonna look for an encampment or the defense, and then I'll, oh, well, that's just perfect. You know, here I am preparing to make a cut, and then we're just ready to go. So let me take out the nurse. She does mostly cancel the ability. One of the many reasons that I think it's not excellent for the 160s, but this is a great example. So we've got all these shielder bubbles being super annoying, getting in the way, and we don't really need to do anything. We can just let the Teddy get to most of the work, maybe work on some of the Riot Huskies, and I did throw that down with a fragment, so I'm gonna need to get some affliction to, oh, well, that's just, you know, let me just, you know, pick that up real quick here. Let me step aside, wait 2 more seconds, and throw down the other Teddy. So for a few shotgun shells, a little bit of patience, and I'll be honest, a little bit of luck. Although I think Fragment Flurry had kicked in at that point, so I kind of got one already. But look at that. 2 Teddies and a few shotgun shots, and 1 Seismic Smash, a full big encampment. And this is like the hardest you would ever deal with in Ventures. So not too bad at all. Again, I'm going to have to help it versus something like a Smasher, but that's easy enough because the Huskbuster is kind of insane. Alright, I think 1 more encampment before the defense starts is fine. Let me take out the nurse and trigger all those enemies just to get them nearby. We want as many enemies around as possible. So, again, watching these affliction clouds is so good. It's basically going to strip out all the basic targets while I work on the mist monsters myself. As long as I take out the big targets, they can just fade away from the Huskbuster affliction, and the Teddy just does the rest. Every other enemy is just dead. At this point, I get to collect all the loot, you know, grab the encampment stuff, all of this out here. Maybe I can tame an animal or not, grab a fragment so I can use my extra Teddies. And yeah, I think I should just go set up the defense. I think you guys have seen enough. All right, the defense begins. Teammate put a lot of tire traps down, and there's a lot going on, but you know what? It should be okay. We're here to throw down a Teddy and watch it kill things. I did pick up a couple of fragments, by the way. I don't think that's misrepresenting the build, by the way. I feel like the build on its own merits would have no fragment help whatsoever, but in every zone ever in Ventures, you are going to be surrounded by llama fragments and the blue charge fragments, and you should pick them up. That's just being a good player if you're seeing those. heroes and spotting them and picking them up for yourself, because as mentioned, it will reduce the energy cost to 0, which is great during the rage modifier. And it'll reduce the cooldown significantly. I don't know what the percent reduction is. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I'll say it out loud. What I identified is this build has a 17-second cooldown remaining after the Teddy is gone. With a fragment, it's like 7 seconds. So it's fairly significant, and it's worth picking up. So I am seeing that the enemies are very spread out, partially why I use Ventura. So let's throw the Teddy wherever we can see the most enemies. I want the big damage numbers. In fact, I begged my teammates not to run wall launchers pushing off the edge of the map, because I want the enemies to build up. I want to have them all in one place. So I'm going to rotate from position to position, depending on where they are. Metal corrosion is only a problem from basic husks, but we are seeing basic husks. So, okay, there we go. Nice little cutoff over here. Let them hit the tar pits. Throw down the Teddy right now. Should be a pretty easy cleanup. Easy. Look at that. Look at that. Not too bad. Look at that range from Ventura. Again, precisely why I ran her. I knew we'd have some long distance shooting, but again, I don't expect this build to do everything. I recommend everybody to help your Teddy builds. I've judged Teddy harshly in the past just because it's usually a little more hyped than I think it's worth, but I feel like it's not very good against the larger targets like Smashers and Mist Monsters, so you should feel inclined to shoot them when you see them. So, yeah. Locking it down fairly well. Struggles versus the Riot Husky, but the basic enemies are just completely taken care of. Even at range, it's helping out a lot with the traps involved. Pretty good. And that's why I say I like it. If you want a build that just works for every venture season and you don't really want to think about your build, you don't want to be reliant on certain types of weapons. Again, I'm only using the Huskbuster because it's common. You don't really need it. Just anything that kills enemies, which is most weapons in the game, should be able to take care of larger targets. And then you have a Teddy that can just take out everything, especially if it malfunctions. It just kills off all the basic enemies, leaves these guys at larger health values, and you can see that reduced affliction damage. It's down to less than 27,000 because the enemies are fire, and that helps reduce that damage significantly. So Smashers, as of course, are going to take a lot more attention, but it works really well against the basic enemies, and we're actually already off cooldown. So let me get this centered as much as possible. It should at least help versus a Smasher if it's focusing. At this range, Ventura is not going to be useful, although it's not even shooting it in the first place. Teammates are helping with the discharger, no problem there. But yeah, it's actually a pretty simple build. And I also didn't want to pair this with Mayhem because I feel like her shock tower ability plus Teddy means you have to focus on too much. I was using Cyberclops for Teddy and shock tower, and Cyberclops in the lead with Mayhem and the Shroom guy here, Madcap, in support actually worked fairly well. If you guys want an easy suggestion, just rearrange this build with Cyberclops in the lead and put both of the new heroes in support. You might be satisfied with that, and I actually think it's still a decent build. Maybe I'll make a third video combining them. Is that too many videos on this subject? Probably, but it's a neat idea, and it actually worked fairly well. But I thought it would be more fun to focus just because of the fun Teddy and the fact that I think he actually performs better solo than if you're trying to squeeze him into a shock tower and Teddy build. That's true for most things in all of life anyway. Focusing on one thing that you want to be good at instead of being everything at once. And yeah, so shock tower and Teddy combination can work fairly well. But oh, I should have mentioned this earlier in the video, by the way. The Spore, the visual effect, actually looks pretty good, and you can only see it if your effects are put to medium. So I specifically did that prior to recording just to see how I could see the Spore. It did not show up when I was on low. So if you actually want to see it, and I do think it's pretty neat, and it's a good visual representation of which enemies have been tagged and which ones haven't, then that's what you want to do. Effects on medium. Oh, I see so many red targets behind me, but I want to use the Teddy right here because I'm standing here. So nice little choke point. That Spore Cloud does seem to affect multiple targets, and there's the malfunction happening. I love that. I love the malfunction because it hits every single enemy, and then they all start ticking away with affliction. And then even unboosted, there's nothing in this loadout that helps a Huskbuster. Even unboosted, pretty good. I mean, it's not an instant kill. I could have crit a little bit more often there, but pretty strong. So let's see. We do have a mini boss, but the single target damage on this is really not impressive. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to throw this Teddy down right here. We're going to go ahead and grab a physical pot shot. You do not want to use a discharger versus non-smashers. It will be significantly less effective, by the way. So don't do it. And this is nature. So let me actually use a fire pot shot and get to work. So this is how you take care of a mini boss, by the way. Building blockers. Well, oh, all right. He's He's moving away from us, but that's all right. 2.4 million damage without even trying. I might as well throw the Teddy just to illustrate the fact that it's not going to help too much versus a mini boss. It's not nothing, but it's close to it. So yeah, a discharger would be doing 1 damage every 1.5 seconds, and it would be doing a lot less than 1 million per tick. So it's actually quite a bit weaker. In fact, I can just illustrate this instead of, you know, saying it, not showing it. This is what a discharger would look like. It missed. It went right through. All right, bad example, but I've covered the discharger in something like 13 videos on my channel, so you've probably seen it, and you've probably used it yourself. But discharger in that instance would have been worse. I'm gonna have to go with a dude trust me on this one. So, you know, little Reddit little Reddit credit. Is that what do you Reddit? Dude trust me source, Reddit source. There we go. I got there in the end. Yeah, source is dude trust me. Yeah, you see that a lot on the internet, but in this case, you're gonna have to believe me. But Potshot is hey, Potshot is weaker now on those Karma. Wait, what? Did they nerf the Potshot? Did that happen in an update, or is StormGod making a joke in my chat while I'm recording? Twitch link in the chat, by the way, or in description if you guys ever want to watch these live. I do a lot of my recordings on stream just because I think it's fun. You know, I test with viewers, they give me information, and we share our knowledge, and they get to watch these live. And I don't know. I flipped. I went from recording on stream because it didn't usually distract me as much, and it made me feel like I got better recordings, and a live audience reaction can be fun sometimes, but it's also weird now to record alone. Like, if I just sit in my room and record a Fortnite video, it's strange. I actually prefer to have people listening. Is the Teddy going to be helpful versus the Flinger zombies? It doesn't seem like it, but the shotgun's having some pretty good range. That's another use case for the pot shot, by the way. You can shoot them at range, but I'm not really taking advantage of that right now. But yeah, bit of a weird recording. I'm in a weird mood today. I also, you guys aren't gonna believe this, I woke up at 7:30 a.m. today, and I'm still awake. I'm recording at 12:30, noon. I never, this is very weird for me, but I was excited about these new heroes and wanted to get to work. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Just a really casual showcase because honestly, the 5-minute intro of this video gave you everything you needed to know. The Teddy does spore affliction damage. It's pretty decent. I would say it's viable to the 140s, which, while insufficient for the 164-player missions and the highest zones of Twine, is actually quite good for the duration adventures. So if you wanted to try this build out, you could. This is a solid hero, and it's available to everybody for the rest of the season. So if you still haven't finished Ventures, maybe this will give you something to play with. I would note that you would want Fallen Love Ranger Jonesian support, or Fossil Southie, maybe remove your shields by taking damage. Just something to generate energy is going to be necessary, but other than that, this build should work completely fine. So that's it. I'm going to go record a Mayhem video. Maybe I'll merge them into Cyberclops video. If me and my audience decides that we haven't got enough of this already, I do think the combo build worked pretty well when we tested it earlier, so I might do that whether the audience wants it or not, so we'll see. Anyway, subscribe for more. I'm going to go into those, and I'll see you guys then.